future. Everything's been erased, all our past, everything. And those that survive the apocalypse are inside of a dome, trapped there forever. The government claims it's safe, that it's protecting you, when in reality, the government is snatching people off the streets and suddenly they vanish without a trace and become one of the missing. Dark Parties by Sarah Grant. I could only wish that that was the premise of the book. I mean, it's kind of there in the background, but no, it's not. This book. Oh God, this book. I can't even put words into. I just finished it literally like 15 minutes ago, and I'm still raging about it because I'm sitting there like it ended like that. I read this entire piece of shit for that. I was hoping it would reclaim itself, be like Erica, no, don't give up on me, and be like, yes, this is awesome. Thank you for redeeming yourself. But that's not what I got because why? Why would I get that? This story is a yo-yo effect. It wants you to hate it. It's practically begging you to hate it. You're sitting there in the beginning, you're like, what the hell am what is this? And then, you're in that moment where you're like, oh, I'm not sure about this book. But then it builds up and you're like, oh, I'm so excited. But then it crashes you back down and you're like a freaking yo-yo. You're like, do I hate it? Do I not hate it? What is happening? What? Dark Parties begins with a party. Yay! It's basically just a bunch of teenagers getting together to form a rebellion. And at first I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I'm like so excited at the beginning and it turns out into well, what do you think happens when you get a bunch of teenagers together in a dark room? A makeout fest. At the same time, you have the main character, Neva, who is with her boyfriend, Ethan, and they're kind of, going all the way, but she stops and she's like, we promised we wouldn't. We don't want to bring life into this future. And okay, you're sitting there like, okay. And the only time you get that there is a rebellion going on is when her friend Sana, they have weird names in here, but Sana, I'm gonna call her Sana. But when she gets up and she does this speech about rebelling and being like, this is not our future. There is something that lies beyond this dome. We need to go out. We should not have to be forced to, have babies that, are gonna die here in this dome and chances are kind of inbred type of situation. At the same time, her best friend is giving her speech in the pitch black darkness. Neva is kissed. And you're kind of like, okay, it's her boyfriend, but it's not her boyfriend. It turns out it's her best friend's boyfriend. And, Neva kind of feels this spark of electricity, like, oh, I like that. And, you're sitting there like, what? Your boyfriend's right there. What? Your best friend? What? And you just, what? That is the first chapter, and I will say it took me 3 tries to read it. 3. I finished If You Find Me on this high of, oh my god, yes, I cannot wait to get into Dark Parties. If You Find Me ended amazing. Dark Parties will be awesome. It's dystopian. It's the future. It's this people trapped in a dome and they're all dying and people are going missing. The government's taking people. So I'm like, yes, yes. And I get to that chapter and I'm like, what am I reading? What? I would like to say the story builds itself back up, but it doesn't. I mean, at times it does. Like, you get the rebellion, the group of rebels get together in movie theater because, they're in their heads, they're like, this is the perfect alibi. We'll have tickets. We can prove we were here. And then they go out and they paint this message that says something I don't remember because it was only there for like a minute. But they paint this message saying that the protective sphere does not protect them and all this other garbage. And Neva and this one girl, Nicolene, they get caught by the police almost. Almost. Somehow the police figure out it was them who painted the message because a day later Neva is taken into custody and questioned, and when she's leaving, she sees Nicolene going through. Now, Nicolene goes missing. Okay, we can figure that. And you're kind of like, why doesn't Neva go missing? Her heritage dates back to the people who built the protective sphere, so she kind of gets a free pass almost. And you're like, that's not fair. But her dad's not having any of that. So he makes her work with him and the government. The girl tried to rebel and, go against the government, but you're going to put her in a government there's a system that keeps almost kind of a track of the missing. It will tell you if they're kind of dead or if they're just, missing or where they are. And she types in Nicoline's name and she finds out she's at this woman empowerment camp for women, something like that. And she's looking for her grandmother because her grandmother's one of the missing. Now the grandmother's is kind of access denied type of situation, like no one knows where she's at. She's been told her grandmother died. She doesn't really know what happened, but all she can remember is the police coming through and taking everything that ever belonged to her grandmother and removing it. I would like to say it stays on topic of them trying to get out of this protectosphere dome thing, but it doesn't. The main thing revolves around Neva and Brayden. Basically, Brayden is seen as her best friend's boyfriend, but Neva's in love with, and this guy Ethan, who's Neva's boyfriend, who's a raging creep at the end. I mean, a raging creep. I'm not going to tell you who gets out, who doesn't get out, if they even get out, because I was kind of hoping they get electrocuted. Okay, I kind of hinted that someone gets out, but hey, we can all assume, right? On to what I liked about this book and what I didn't like about this book, and this is a hefty list, so we're going to start with what I did like. I like the cover. The cover is pretty. It pleases the ADD side of me because it's shiny. I loved the concept of the government. I really did, that these people built this dome back in I don't want to say 2010, I think it was like 2078 or something, and they built this dome because they thought that the outside world was ending and no one believed them, so they built this dome. I don't want to say around a country, but it wasn't around a city either because it was quite massive. But they built this dome somewhere. It wasn't really specified, but they built the dome and it was to protect them, and the government is in this state of where people begin to question them. So with the questions that they can't answer or they don't want to answer, they just kind of take the people and they go missing. What's even worse about the government is that they're kind of promoting that these kids get married at the age of 16. At the age of 16, you're now an adult. You work, you have family, you do this and you do that. No questions, no ifs, no ands, no buts. This is what you do. The kids are kind of starting to rebel because they don't want this. So, the government is taking and kidnapping girls off the street, putting them into this camp and getting them pregnant so that way their civilization does not die. The government is pretty screwy, needless to say, okay? But I loved that concept of it. It was such a brilliant idea that was just executed so damn poorly. The whole story revolved around Neva and this idiot named Brayden and his stupid girlfriend Sina, who was blind to everything and just what I didn't like. Okay, so clearly we know I don't like the lovey-dovey bullshit in this book because that's all it revolved around. And I swear to God, there were points in the book that I just wanted to scream. I did not like the character Neva. I didn't. I wanted to slap her so hard across her face she would probably get electrocuted by the Protectus Dome. I mean, seriously, that is how bad I wanted to hit this girl. If she was alive, I would punch her in the face. Seriously, I would punch her. Neva is what I call a pancake character. And I don't mean because she's flat and fluffy, but because she flip-flops. She can flip her like a pancake. She has an idea in her head, and she's so adamant about it. And then someone says something to her, and she goes, yeah, you're right. Okay, I shouldn't do that. Or, she's kind of sitting there like, yeah, I shouldn't like Sana's boyfriend, but I do like him, but I shouldn't like him, but I do like him. Oh, I'm so confused. And yeah, I'm sitting there reading the book like, oh my God, stop it. In all honesty, I did not like a single character in Dark Parties. They were all bland and flat and boring, and apart from Ethan, he was the only one kind of with a weird personality because he was a freak. Okay, he's Neva's boyfriend, and she breaks up with him because she doesn't love him anymore, but it takes her a good while to, do the deed and break up with him. So when she does, he ignores her, and he becomes one of those weird guys that are like, no, we're not broken up. We break up when I say we break up. And then once he finally gets the hint, he stalks her around and follows her every footstep. I'm sitting there like, what? And then you have Brayden, who's creepy as well. He's dating Sana, Neva's best friend, and he's flirting with Neva in front of her. and doing weird things in front of her with Neva. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, is Sana blind? Is she stupid? What? Prime example, and this probably made me the most uncomfortable ever. At this point in the story, Sana has given up on her rebellion. She thinks there's nothing worth fighting for, so on and so forth, because why? Braden's telling her this. Ethan, on the other hand, is trying to convince Neva the same thing. Neva's not having any of it, kind of. She's flip-flopping between it. So when she's kind of like, no, I want to find out what happened to my grandma, they kind of have this intervention. They sit her down, and she's in a dress or a skirt or whatever, and you have Ethan beside her, holding her close, like with her shoulder. Sana's in front of her talking to her. Then you have Braden next to her with his hand on her leg. Now, I'm sorry. If I was Ethan and I was her boyfriend, I'd be like, no, don't touch her type of situation going on. And he doesn't do anything. And then you have Sana sitting there right in front of it. You kind of like could see his hand creeping up her thigh. And just, what? And then you have Neva sitting there going, I could see her eyes pleading for me to let her boyfriend go. And I'm like, what? But if she knows, why doesn't she do anything about it? Like, the fuck, man? I cannot tell you guys how many times in this book I did this. I headbutted dark parties plenty of times because there's points in this that I'm just kind of like, the hell? What is wrong with all of you? I mean, I get the government's kind of brainwashed you and made you all into inbred weirdos, but why did they what? There's just no logic behind any of their actions, and it takes Neva until the very end of the book to decide to do a damn thing. The ending of the book, too. I did not like that. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I didn't like it. Like, there was this point in the book that I was like 10 chapters away from the end that I'm sitting there like, this should end. This really needs to end. Like, now. Like, this is just dragging out. And it's not a long book. Again, it's like another 200-page book. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, this needs to end. Like, now. And it doesn't. It just draws out. And it's just, oh my god. Needless to say, I wasn't too pleased with the book. Granted, I probably should have read the entire synopsis before I really dove into this. I mean, when I saw that she kind of starts falling for her friend's boyfriend, I didn't really think that would be the entire story. I really thought it had more to do with the fact that it was a dystopian, futuristic type of book, that these people are trying to escape this hell, kind of. It had nothing like that. It was all about her and her stupid love for this idiot guy. I would give this book a D. I really would. It could have been a lot better if Sara Grant stayed focused on the fact that the government is evil and trying to, force things upon them, and, stayed on topic instead of on a stupid love story. I mean, if I had known this was a love story, I wouldn't have bought it, seriously. I wouldn't have. On to the fun bit, you guys, because I need something to cheer me up. Next book to read, Shadow and Bone. Shadow and Bone by Leah Bardugo. I've been waiting for you a long time, Alina, he said. You and I are going to change the world. The shadow fold, a swath of impenetrable darkness, is slowly destroying the once great nation of Ravka. That sounds fun. Alina, a pale, lonely orphan, discovers unique power that thrust her into the world of the kingdom's magical elite, the Grisha. Could she be the key to setting the Ravka free? The Darkling, a man of seductive charm and terrifying power. If Alina is to fulfill her destiny, she must unlock her gift and face up to the dangerous attraction of him. But what of Mal, Alina's childhood best friend? As Alina contemplates her dazzling new future, why can't she ever forget him? I've heard good things about this, so, okay, I've heard good things from many other booktubers, so do not fail me, Shadow and Bone. Do not fail me, because if you don't, I will get your next one, Sage and Storm, I believe it is. Actually, I'll probably buy it anyways, because I have to complete series. I have problems. Dark Parties by Sara Grant. It's not worth the £6 or, $8, whatever it is in America, if you can find it there. So rent it from your library, ebook it, don't buy it, unless if you read it and you really love it, or you just like the cover like I do, and it becomes a collection piece. Next up is Shadow and Bone by Leah Bartigo, or Vertigo. I cannot say that for the life of me. So keep tuned if you guys want to know what I thought about this. If you guys have read this, let me know below. No spoilers, please. Until then, you guys, happy reading. Bye!